Hello and welcome everybody, welcome to the channel. If you don't know who I am by now, Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator on YouTube. What more can I say about that? I've been around since 2021 on YouTube telling you all the tips and tricks about the painting and decorating trade. Now I'm going to say straight away, people say that I waffle and I'm going on now, but if you want to know about all things painting and decorating, this is the channel that you need in. If you just want to have a quick fix and instant gratification on painting with actually no product knowledge, probably no anything, do you know what? Nip over to TikTok, nip over to Facebook and Instagram Reels, because they're the videos that will show you something and you go, oh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that. There's no substance. I clearly have substance when it comes to YouTube videos. I can make a simple video, 20 minutes, no problem whatsoever. But what we're talking about today, we're talking about, I've got Doris the door there. If you don't know, I've got a door that's a 6-panel door, and it's very good for actually experimenting and trying paints out, because you've got edges that are drying off and it's not an easy door to paint if you don't know how to paint a door. But we're talking about Tikkurila paints today. We're going to be talking about Helmi 10. We're going to be talking about Helmi 30. We've got Everal Aqua 40 and we've got Intact 40. There's 4 water-based paints from Tikkurila that are the main, I'll say main go-to paints, that if you are thinking to yourself, I want to try a water-based paint, where do I start? I would probably say go to Tikkurila and have a look at their water-based paints and start with that. Once you get into water-based paints, if you've been used to oil-based paints from previous years, days gone by, do you know what? A good product, a good brand to start with, manufacturer of paints, is Tikkurila. They're a Scandinavian company. They've been around a long while. They have perfected the art of water-based paints, and now they're in the UK for, I don't know, how long have they been in the UK? 10 odd years, probably a bit longer. But we've got a Helmi 10, Helmi 30, Everal Aqua 40 and Intact 40. And he's saying to me, what do these numbers mean? I'm going to be telling you that these numbers are your percentage of your sheen level. So if you take 100 being the top, I don't know, full-blown gloss, and go down to 0, 1, 1% sheen level, 100% sheen level, you know where I'm going to be if I say we've got a Helmi 10. We're looking at a 10% sheen level. If we're looking at a Helmi 30, we've got a 30% sheen level. 40, we've got 40% sheen level. Intact and Everal Aqua. So let's move the camera in and let's have a quick look at what they're actually like. I'll give you a little bit of information about each of the products, but on the whole, for somebody looking to start off using water-based paints, Tikkurila is probably where you want to start. Okay, just brought you in a bit closer. I hope you can see this. I've spent a bit of time, shall I say. I've painted up these panels today. They've had 3 coats. You do the correct system with water-based paints, and I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, the recommendation with water-based paints is doing a primer stroke undercoat and then 2 top coats over the top. Don't look at these paints like a traditional oil-based eggshell, which are self-undercoating, which means you'd sand down your surface, clean it all down. You give 1 coat of the oil eggshell as your first coat, which would be acting as an undercoat, and then your second coat of oil eggshell goes over the top. Job's a good one. That's 20 odd years ago. I know people are still using oil-based paints. Beckwith decorators, I can't remember the last time really I used an oil-based paint. It's that long ago. But water-based is slightly different. You've got to get your head wrapped around it. You're not using the same sort of painting process as what you used to have 20 odd years ago, where you'd go with 2 coats for oil eggshell or satin wood, or even oil-based gloss, which you would have an oil-based undercoat and then a gloss over the top. It'd be a 2-coat system. Moved away from that. Water-based, 9 times out of 10, it will say on the back, use the primer stroke undercoat and then 2 top coats. There are some paints that are test, and I'm looking over in my shelving, that do say prepare your surface beforehand, and you can go with 2 coats. Excuse me, losing my voice. Go with 2 coats over the top, which is great. But when I'm going to be saying to you, if you want to do a proper process of building up your surface, particularly to get onto a water-based paint system, belt and braces, you don't know what you're going to be painting over, go with the grip coat, primer, stroke undercoats, and then top coats over the top. So this is what I've done. I've got undercoats on this, and I've gone with the top coats. Now, Helmi do their own undercoat. So on the range of paints here, Helmi have got their own undercoat. You can use the undercoat, which is Helmi. You can have it mixed to a colour if you've got dark colours and you want to build it up. So you could go Helmi undercoat. I just found a tin. So that's what a Helmi undercoat tin would probably look like. It just says Helmi on it. This can be used really as your just general purpose undercoat for 2 coats of the Helmi over the top. Now, I would probably say to you, if you're going over previously painted oil-based paint surfaces, Tikkurila do a grip coat, primer, stroke undercoat, which is called Everal Aqua. Now that is a real problem-solving paint if you've got previously painted gloss, oil-based gloss surfaces, or surfaces that just need that extra grip. You can use that paint on all of these finishes that I've got here, but always read the label. I'm going to say to you, always read the label. Make sure that the surface you're going over has got the correct paint over the top. But we've got Helmi 10, and if you can see here, I'm going to zoom you in. This is a 10% sheen level finish. Can you see that? It's quite a flatter finish. Probably some companies might be classing that as an eggshell, being flatter. Some people like it. Being a flatter finish is very forgiving. If you've got problem surfaces that are very matte, textured, and you want to get rid of highlighting any imperfections, go for a flatter finish, and that's what we've got there. And hopefully, if you cast your eye across, you've got your Helmi 10 there, which is flatter, and then we jump across to the, can you see it? The Helmi 30. Now, the beauty with Helmi 30 is there is a little bit of a sheen to it. I would say that's a good all-rounder for your woodwork. These are all woodwork paints, inside woodwork paints, the Helmi 10 and the Helmi 30, ideal inside. They're not going to go yellow on you. If you've got whites, they're not going to go yellow. They're ideal, particularly like Helmi 30. You can use it for kitchen painting. You can use it for furniture painting if you're into furniture painting. What I would say is I've actually used that Helmi 30 on my own kitchen, and I did find that your finger grease over a period of time, if you were touching a specific door, it would start softening up and going a little bit cheesy, and this is where the word saponification comes into it. If you don't know what saponification means, it's all to do with the oils and your grease in your fingers obviously affecting a water-based surface like that. It's not as resistant as you think it is, and I'm talking from experience. But that said, it is still a great finish. It can be brushed, it can be rolled if you wanted to, and you can spray it. You can spray it airless if you like. You could spray it with HVLP. So all of these Helmis, very good for spraying, very good for kitchens, hard wearing, resilient finishes. They've got scrub test ratings, and they're also quick drying. They're water-based. You'll probably find these a touch dry in about an hour, and on the Helmis, I would say recoat time's about 4 hours. If you are doing 2 coats in a day, i.e. getting an undercoat on in the morning and then a first top coat on in the afternoon, great. If you're putting a second top coat on, I would probably advise, you know what, it goes on a lot easier the day after. The longer you can leave it, the better. And if you've got a warm environment, it's probably gone off quick enough that you say, do you know what, I could probably push it to the end of the day and get that second coat on. But I would probably say, if you can get your first 2 coats on in one day, your third coat, which would be your second top coat, next day is probably even better. Just play it by ear. That's a little bit experimental with that. Right, we're dropping down. I think you can see the sheen level there. Nice 30% sheen level. We've got a 10% sheen level. My own house, I have that in my hallway. on woodwork, skirting boards, door frames and actually doors. It's very nice, it's very pleasant. I'm a decorator, I can actually touch in and redo things if anything got dirty over a short period of time. I can retouch in if it's needed. But do you know what? They're a good hard wearing finish. Right, we're dropping down to something that's a little bit even better. I'll try and keep the camera so we've got the two there. We're dropping now to Everal Aqua 40. Now you're going to say, what's Everal Aqua 40? Well, your Everal Aqua water. It's i.e. that is a water-based paint finish. You can actually get Everal, which is oil-based. Now, Everal Aqua, this is the paint that you can use inside and outside. I'm just having a look. It's actually a lovely finish. It's a 40% sheen level compared to your 30. I know probably on the camera you'd say that's got more of a sheen to it. I think that's down to the way the colour is being seen on camera. Again, this is a surface, this is a paint that's going to be non-yellowing. It can be sprayed, it can be brushed, and you can roll it if you've got kitchen units and using a nice microfiber roller. You could use that as well. What's really nice with the Everal Aqua, it is an enamel finish, and you can actually use it on stuff like radiators. So if in doubt, your Everal Aqua is the one that is really good for radiators. You can still use Helmi on radiators, but you know what? Everal Aqua is probably the better one. I think with it being that interior exterior water-based enamel, it is probably the better paint to go for. But all of these, the Helmis, the 10s and the 30s and the 40s, you can use these on multiple surfaces. So if you're going over metal surfaces, if you're going over I don't know, MDF and things like that, so long as you've got the correct primer on, particularly with metals, you can actually use them on those sorts of surfaces. So they are a bit of an all-rounder paint. Right, we're coming on to another one now, and if you can just see it, I'll bring that down. We're looking at Intact 40. Now, Intact 40, I'm running my hands over these. Do you know what? That Intact 40 has a fantastic finish. That is solid. This is the harder wearing paint out of, I'm not bothered what you say, out of any of them. The only difference is that Everal Aqua 40 is an interior exterior water based. When we're looking at the Intact 40, that is an interior, just like the Helmis are. They're just interior. That is interior exterior. The exterior is very good for UV resistance. These ones, Intact and Helmis, aren't geared up for outside. So that is where, if you are looking at wanting a bit of an all-rounder paint, you'd probably go for Everal Aqua 40. But if you're wanting something that's, I'm going to say it, next level of being hard wearing, you will go for Intact 40. And you're going to say, Phil, why? Why? I'm going to tell you. Let's get you in a bit closer if I can there. Right. The Intact 40 is touch dry within about 2 hours. Your recoat time again is about 4, and like I say, if you got an undercoat on in the morning and then a first top coat on in an afternoon, you're good. Your second top coat, I would say, leave till the next day. Your Intact 40 also has its own undercoat. There is an Intact undercoat. So if you are doing a paint system that want to bring up to a hard wearing surface, and you've got something that you don't know what you're going over, I'd go back to your Otex Aqua as your grip coat. Then I would say go with the Intact undercoat, then 2 coats of the top coat of the Intact 40. Now, if you know what your surface is that you're going over and you don't need the grip coat, the Otex Aqua, you could just go with the Intact undercoat and then 2 top coats over the top. And likewise, if you've already done a water-based paint finish of Intact previously, a refresh coat, you could sand down and just go straight over with the Intact 40. So if you are into furniture painting, if you're into spraying kitchens or anything like that, I would seriously be saying to you, if you've not tried Intact 40, have a look at it. It is a really nice chemical resistant, i.e. it's not going to go soft, there's no going to be no saponification with your finger grease going over that surface. It's resistant to that, it's got scratch resistance, and you know what else? You can feel between these three, that levels out a lot nicer than what the Everal Aqua 40 is and what the Helmi 10 is and the Helmi 30 is. And you're going to say, what brushes have I used? I've used an array of brushes today. I've been trialing out. I've got the two Mavericks. I've got a 2-inch Maverick brush. I've got an 1.5-inch Maverick brush. I've used the Hamilton Perfection, and that is the, let me get it right, because there's two of these, is the soft bristle, and this is called the Max Stroke. So the Hamilton brush that I used was the Max Stroke. That was actually on the Intact 40, and it is actually flowed out lovely. You can't fault that. It's not been rolled, it's not had a mini roller, it's just been brushed with Hamilton Perfection Max Stroke, which is their new version of their brushes that's geared up for water-based paints. Very soft bristle, really nice. Use that on that. The other brushes that I've used, I'll say go-to for trying out a paintbrush on doors. I've used the Knorr Heritage. That put me the Helmi 30 on. Again, lovely brush, flowed out nicely. Brush marks down to a minimum because it's got a very soft tip on there. Really, really nice. If you've not checked those out, please have a look and Google search Knorr Heritage brushes. Can you see that? Very nice. And then the other two brushes I've used on the Helmi 10 and the Everal Aqua 40 are the Maverick brushes with the Helene Syndic or whatever. They've got a spiral bristle, you can just see that. Again, soft tip bristles, very nice. Nice long handle. They're quite weighty. They actually, I'll come back, they're actually a nice brush to use for applying water-based paints. So I've used a mix. They're all very good brushes, can't fault them for that. And we have coated those up lovely. I'm going to say, if you've got any questions about this paint, please look below. I'm trying to give you all the information you need about understanding what the difference of paints are, and hopefully this is going to explain, if you can just see the sheen levels, 10, 30, we've got a 40 and we've got a 40 there. They're very much of a muchness. The 30 you'll probably be hard pushed to actually see that there's a difference, but do you know what? You do see a difference between the 40 if you got the same colours. I've tried to do different colours so I can see it and explain it. Now, these don't just do Helmi 10s, Helmi 30s, Everal Aqua 40 and Intact 40. You can actually get Helmi 80. So that would be more of your gloss, semi-gloss. It's not going to be a full gloss. I'll come in a bit more. On your Everal Aqua 40, you can also get that in an 80 for a gloss, and you can also get it in, I believe you can also get that in a 10 as well. Now when you come across to an Intact 40, they do an Intact 8, which is again just a bit lower sheen level, 8% sheen level to the 40%, which is the Intact 40. So I'm going to just whip the camera off now so you can have a bit of a close-up on that. I think I've explained it. We've had 20 minutes worth of me talking and explaining these Tikkurila paints. And as I've said, if you are looking at getting into water-based paints, let's go like that, we'll see the sheen. Please look at the Tikkurila range of paints, because they are very forgiving. They are nice to apply, and they will give you a hard wearing finish, particularly Intact 40. And if you are looking at painting kitchens, furniture, or even just your general woodwork in your house, I would say have a look at Intact 40. I've got Intact 40 in my own house, in my own bedroom, and it's lasted really, really well. It is a hard wearing finish. And you know, look at the sheen level on that, flowed out. Compared to that, can we see? Compared to the 10, can we see? Compared to the 30, which is a decent sheen level. There's not much in it. I like the ones with the sheen, but hopefully you can just see the difference. We're liking it. When you feel that Intact 40, move it around a bit. I'm going to put my neck on the line. I'm going to say that is the nearest paint to Benjamin Moore Scuffex on feel. And I think the all-roundedness of how that is scratch resistant, hard wearing, chemical resistant and sheen level and flow out, I would actually put that up against Intact 40 is comparable, as good, if not better, than Scuffex. Tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. I'm just putting it out there. Is this as good, if not better, than Scuffex? When you feel that and look at that sheen level, the qualities of that and the properties of that, does that match Scuffex? Tell me. Any questions on these paints, just ask. Just drop a comment below. I'm going to say thanks to all those that are supporting me with the super thanks and buy me a coffee. It's much appreciated. It does go towards building this channel bigger and better. And I'm going to say to you, please watch the videos at the end. There'll be something there that probably follows on that you'll find of interest. But I hope that's explained the difference between the Helmis, the Everal Aquas and the Intacts. And if you are looking at getting into trying water-based paints, I'm going to say to you, please have a look at going for the Tikkurila range to start with. See how you go.